Welcome to Activity 1 of the Built Environment module of Changing the Equation series of after-school math curricula. In this activity, students will learn to draw an accurate representation of a human body so that all parts, the length of the arms and the legs and the height of the pelvis, are drawn using realistic proportions while being mindful of ratio and scale. These concepts will come in handy for activities 2 and 3. Here's what you'll need for this activity. Graph paper, 2 sheets per student, colored pencils, several per group, measuring tape, 1 per group, body proportion activity sheet, which can be found on pages BE5 and BE6 of the written activity guide. The PDF is located on Explorer's website. To start things out, have your students first draw a horizontal line 4 squares up from the bottom of a piece of graph paper. Then tell your students to draw a picture of themselves on this piece of paper, with their feet standing on this line. It doesn't matter how artistic these drawings are. They can be stick figures, but each representation should include shoulders, elbows, hands, pelvis, knees, and feet. After they have finished drawing, arrange the pictures according to the height of each figure. Then have the students physically line themselves up according to their actual height. Are the students in the same order as their pictures? If not, ask your students why they think this is. This is a good time to talk about proportion, the comparison of one part to the whole. For example, the human head is generally about 1/8 your height. You can also introduce the idea of scale, the ratio between the actual size of an object and the representation of it. The drawings the students make are likely not going to be drawn to scale, because there were no measurements taken. Next, they will work in small groups of about 3 to measure different parts of each other's bodies. They will record their results on the body proportion activity sheet to use later when they redraw themselves to scale. The questions on the back are to encourage discovery of ratios and proportions in the human body. It's pretty amazing that your height is the same as the distance from outstretched fingertip to fingertip. Encourage them to compare their proportional measurements with each other, as well as their standard proportions that artists use. Finally, they will redraw themselves in proportion and to scale using the body measurements they have gathered. Everyone will need to agree on a scale to use, such as 1 square of the grid paper equals 10 centimeters in real life. They then convert their measurements into that new scale, in this case, squares on the grid paper, and carefully redraw themselves in proportion and to scale. Students could also use non-standard units, such as their own head, to redraw themselves to scale. First, have them draw their head on a piece of paper exactly the same size as their actual head. Then cut this out and use it to measure and mark where other key body proportions would be on a life-size drawing, such as their overall height from head to toe, or the distance from their feet to their hips. Use the measured out markings as reference points to draw a life-size person to scale. This of course requires a large piece of paper. It should be noted that if you plan on having students do activities 2 and 3 in this module, it's important that they will also practice drawing to scale. You'll also want to facilitate a reflection discussion afterwards. Some good questions to ask include, which body proportion is most surprising? How would you describe in your own words what scale and proportion mean, and what purpose they serve in their drawings? Was it easier or harder to create the drawings the second time? Why do you think this is? Where else is scale used? Some ideas they have might include maps and model cars or model trains. How is scale used in each of these examples? How are standard human body proportions useful to artists?
Changing the Equation, after-school math curriculum brought to you by Explora. Funding provided by Sandia National Laboratories. Find more Changing the Equation videos at explora.us/changing-the-equation.